This is the future.
We are just a few days away from the Angels of Zariman update, and honestly, I'm kind of excited not just about the new content alone, but also with the upcoming changes. Well, not exactly all, as I got some things that are curious of, and it will get answered only during the release of the Angels of Zariman update. For now, let's discuss on the known factors and what could we possibly do to avoid getting annoyed by some of the upcoming changes in Warframe. By the way, please stick until the end of this video as I got some huge announcement to say. So last time, we have discussed about how Eximus rework will change the challenge in the game for a bit, but only a part of it was mentioned, and I think I just have to make one video that gives you enough knowledge on what to use against Eximus units after Angels of Zariman so you won't get annoyed by them. First, let's talk about the Overguard mechanic. It's like added health for enemies with some tricks. Digital Extremes made it clear that Banshee's silence will now negate any active Eximus abilities and prevent any Eximus abilities from being cast while it is active. Guardian Eximus shields, and their area of effect resistance, toxin clouds from Venomous Eximus, or the Arctic Dome from the Arctic Eximus will all be disabled. This only means that silence will be a huge ability in the upcoming Eximus rework, as it will make the fight a lot easier against these units. This will encourage the use of the Helminth system also to subsume Banshee's silence in your Warframe, which will have a good and bad effect for the game. The good thing is, silence is accessible to all players by means of Helminth system, but this will only encourage using the silence ability and not Banshee. Probably, players will think that silence in the new meta, especially if you want to have an easy time against high-level Eximus units. It becomes a necessity to equip Banshee's silence in your build, which is one of the things that some players who don't like meta stuff really hates. It's either equip silence, or locate and drop the Eximus units fast. Killing Eximus units would be fast, especially with an AoE weapon, but not all Eximus unit will get affected by AoE weapons, especially the Guardian Eximus units. Guardian Eximus shields are immune to punch through, and Guardians have very high resistance to R of effect damage for themselves. However, take note that units protected by the Guardian's aura are not immune to punch through, nor do they have any special resistance to OE, just the generic 90% resistance to everything. But, they are the worst among the bunch, as Guardian Eximus now provides significant damage reduction to its allies, which is indicated by a collection of smaller shields circling around them. But, only the mobs are affected, and enemies such as demolists, capture targets, or bosses, does not stack with other friendly Guardian Eximus. However, it will affect other Eximus units within a range which is insane. They are just specific for the Corpus faction though, but just imagine how hard it will be just to take down these guys, knowing the fact that Corpus is by far the hardest faction to take down because of all those firepower and nullifiers. To top all of that, Digital Extremes decided to add these new features to the Guardian Eximus, which is totally insane. They can be dropped by punch through and AoE, but it will be harder that way. The only way I can think of is by casting silence so they can't use their abilities, or using weapons like the ZA or the Kuva version so you can swap to its single target fire and deal with the Guardian Eximus. Honestly, Guardian Eximus is the toughest enemy I can see so far in this rework, and they will surely be a big problem on those Corpus tile sets. I can even see some players complaining that these enemies are way too hard to beat, and that is not even adding the Overguard feature on it. Speaking of the Overguard feature for the new Eximus units, it also has some tricks which make it a priority to kill Eximus units first. While Overguard is active, it will keep Eximus units immune to Warframe crowd control abilities and anything that will stagger, knock down, stun, mind control, ragdoll, and blind. Additionally, overguarded enemies will be unaffected by radiation status effects and will be susceptible to a maximum of 4 cold status effects at one time. Digital Extremes also listed a couple of abilities that they consider and view as crowd control abilities which will have no effect to Eximus when Overguard is present. One thing that is bothering some players most specifically is Limbo's Rift and Cataclysm. Some say that Eximus units will be the end of Limbo. Now, that was before Digital Extremes even clarified that Eximus abilities will now ignore Limbo's Rift. However, any other types of damage from Eximus will still be avoided. Good news is that it's like a 50% nerf to Limbo, and you can say that solo Limbo players who value offensive capabilities of Limbo will just ignore this change. I'm talking to those people who just enjoy chilling on the rift and dishing out damage still, without even using his other kit at all. Just a good example is Limbo with the Surging Blades combo. This will not see a nerf and still will be viable against Eximus units, since if I am correct, and if I understand the statement of Digital Extremes right, then only the crowd control factor of Cataclysm and Stasis will be gone, and not the feature wherein enemies can't hit Limbo while he is on the rift. On the other hand, this is a huge nerf for those players who relies with Limbo in defensive type missions. Eximus units will be a big threat to Limbo, especially if you don't have any setup that allows you to take them down while you are inside the rift. Probably, you will need to step outside and go toe-to-toe with these new Eximus units, or you can always subsume silence to Limbo, which is, in my opinion, a big face-palming moment for a crowd control Warframe. I'm also curious of how other crowd control abilities would work against Overguard, as not all are mentioned here. Take for example Rhino's Stomp ability. Even the lifted status is not included on this dev workshop, so I'm really curious on how it will affect the Overguard Eximus units. Also, they have not given any hint that Magus Lockdown would not work against Eximus units, so probably, I'm guessing that it's one of those universal ways to stun lock Eximus units and kill them before they can even be a threat to players. It's weird also that they haven't said anything about Atlas Petrify ability, because last time I check, Eximus units turn into stone when they Atlas cast their Petrify on them. Also, the Path of Statues Augment does work against Eximus units right now. Another ability is Nidus Lava, which group enemies together. They have said something about Ensnare, but didn't mention if Lava will work with Eximus units. The same thing with Vauban's Vortex ability, and Zephyr's Air Burst ability that group enemies together also. Ember's Fire Blast that knock down enemies, and Sarin's Miasma that can stun lock enemies for a couple of seconds were not mentioned also in this dev workshop. So, I am assuming that these abilities would work against the new Eximus units, or they just forgot to add it in this dev workshop. We don't have the exact answers for how these abilities would work in the upcoming rework, but if there's one thing I'm also sure, is that Xata's Whisper will be a big factor also in killing the Eximus units. Overguard is particularly susceptible to void damage, which will somehow overall improve the flow and synergy between Warframe and operator combat flow when engaging with Eximus units. As the developer said, this will encourage you to engage with them more interactively as opposed to easily overpowering them with abilities alone. It should shift the focus of fighting Eximus units to using a mixture of weapons and teamwork, and make Eximus units feel like more of a true threat to Warframes. However, they must have forgotten the fact that the broken Warframes ability called Xata's Whisper exist, and it's also a subsumable ability just like Banshee's Silence. They were aiming to incorporate operator gameplay on this new Warframe update, but I think they clearly forgot about Xata's Whisper, which will probably take down the Overguard of Eximus units easily. Taking a second look at the Eximus rework has made me more curious than excited about this update. On top of that, they have said that players will be rewarded more in killing Eximus units. The developer stated that they have further boosted the affinity gained from killing them by plus 200%. Additionally, Eximus units now drop credits and Indo at an increased rate. This will consistently scale as well for their Steel Path counterparts on top of the usual rare chance of a Riven Sliver. We just don't know how much Endo and credits, or how high the Riven Sliver chance are. But there is a possibility that it will end up the same like the Steel Path first release, where player decided to do survival camp due to the advantage it had in term of Eximus spawn, and so Steel Essence farm when back in the days Steel Essence was Eximus drop. So far, I'm loving the extra effort to take down these Eximus units, and you can still bypass the Overguard mechanic of these reborn units. But this will definitely cement meta stuff to be more useful and popular in the upcoming updates, and will somehow bury those mastery fodder things in the game. Somehow, I can see the new Eximus units challenging at higher level missions, but I just don't think that the rewards to taking down one cut it. Like Endo and credits, even affinity can be easily farmed in specific types of missions. I'm also curious, like I have said on those other things that might work with the Eximus units. Pair the Eximus rework with the Focus rework, and also the new stuff. I think we have lots of things to look forward, and somehow criticize, I guess, in Warframe. Before I end this video, I would like to let you know that our Discord are now nicely set up and organized. Thanks to Vash. Our Grind Shack Discord server is now stable and there are no more ping spam issues and even false advertising. If you check it out, which I have left the link with a pinned comment, you can see how well organized it is. Moderators are also present and active to stop racism, cursing, bullying and any form of toxicity in the community. Thank you so much to all the guys that helped set up the Discord server, and I welcome you all in our Discord community. Come and hang out with us guys, and I'll be waiting for you in the Grind Shack. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.